I'm sharing my screen. Do you see the presentation?
Everything is great.
Thank you. So I'm here. Thank you for introducing me. Thank you for allowing me to speak here. I'm going to talk to you about the freest country in the world, the Free Republic of Liberland, which we are founding as the first country to run its government on the blockchain, and the country which is to be the national homeland for all people who want freedom. So we want to create the first truly decentralized country where the objective is to have a country for honest people who can prosper there, doing honest work without interfering with each other and without suffering under the burden of government interference unless it's necessary, and too much taxation, actually any taxation, as we're going to see soon. So why did I use that word decentralized, and why am I talking about countries here when this is more about tech and blockchain? Well, because those things go hand in hand. Governments, the traditional governments, are kind of reaching their limits. The old conceptions or current conceptions of how to govern are robust and working. We live in peace and unprecedented prosperity still, even despite the setbacks of the last years. So I can't say that they don't work, but I can say that they could work better. And we're here to make them work better. States, as they are now, are something like businesses, but very inefficient ones. Businesses are these organizations of people with some goal, profit in their case. States also are organizations with goals, namely, let's say, public good. However, there is no difference in principle in how they operate, in the underlying market forces which make states or the businesses operate. So we can analyze states as we would businesses. And if we do that, then we will see that there are inefficient businesses, because it's very difficult to make the crossing from one state to another. You typically brought up with a certain patriotism and love for your country, so you don't want to leave yours, right? And therefore, it is a client capture if you see the citizen as a client to the nth degree. And in business, if you would have a business system like that, that would look like the Soviet Union. And that didn't work all that well. So these are the limits, and humankind can do better. And we're trying to do better. And how are we going to do that? We've built a blockchain. It's already running. And on that blockchain, we're going to run the government. That blockchain is going to be a public blockchain. So other states are running their government processes on blockchains, but those are typically commercial blockchains, which are private. And that means that there is an authority, a centralized authority, which allows only certain people to access the data. The code is not audited and so on. Publicly, I mean, cannot be publicly audited. The transparency is gone. The decentralization is also gone, because you need to ask permission to run a node. Here in our blockchain, it's as public as any other Ethereum or Polkadot or anything like that. And we are going to run our government on it. Why do you run a government on a blockchain? Why do you need that? Like, isn't blockchain for money? No, blockchain's a ledger, but governments are ledgers too. Governments are basically people who use a lot of notebooks to share information. And that information is preserved over years, even centuries. And the data on the blockchain is permanent. So that's an ideal connection, an ideal combination. So we will get rid of the paperwork, we will get rid of everything, and we'll give you a very smart and fast running state. How is this state going to run? It's going to be a democratic state, and it's going to be working based on the rule of law, which will be the law on the blockchain. Code is law. The central point is the democracy. So how are we going to improve on democracy? I talked about improving. First off, we're going to have people vote for policies instead of politicians. So there's a lot of direct democracy. Second off, we see that there is a big flaw in democracy, that people, regardless of their competence, regardless of their interest in a certain topic, all have one vote, each have one vote, and therefore the people who knows a lot and the people who know a lot and the person who knows little will have each one vote. We are going to change that by tokenizing the vote, so that you can vote with your token on the chain called Liberland Merit. In that way, if you are more interested in politics, you will feel free to purchase the token, and then you can vote with more votes. So we also have a robust constitution to prevent the majority abusing the minority, and many other systems. We can have Q&A about that later. So it is going to be, again, a direct voting, and it's anytime. So anybody can at any time propose a referendum, and the referendum will run on the blockchain if you pay a fee for the referendum, so that it's not spammed by say senseless referenda or malicious referenda. There's other mechanisms to get rid of those as well. There is a very clever mechanism which will prevent people from voting in something by a small majority of current voters. So nobody wants a minority to rule over majority, right? It's also a thing. Like, majority over minority is bad, but minority over majority is also bad. And how we do this is that the blockchain allows us to implement an algorithm whereby if a referendum is run and there's not that many voters compared to how many voters there could be, so how many people there really are, so let's say that only 20% of people participate, then you need 80% of them to say yes. Then not 50%, or like 80% of votes, actually, because you vote with merits, remember, voting instrument. So in that way, we can make sure that there is no capture of as the silent majority who is just not interested in a topic by a vocal minority who is. I talked about no taxes, and that's true. We will have no mandatory taxes. However, we will have voluntary taxes, and we'll implement mechanisms of game theory which make it interesting for people to voluntarily pay those taxes. So we're not a tax haven, we're a tax heaven, as our president likes to say. And what we do is basically we get rid of the taxman, we get rid of the coercion or violence element there, and a lot of expenses which are associated with that, and a lot of bureaucracy. And one of the mechanisms I've already described. So if you pay voluntary taxes, you get the token, and then the people who pay more voluntary taxes get to vote more. It's like a share in a company. So in that sense, you are the co-owner of your state, in a very real sense, actually, even to the extent that if the state is in a long-term surplus budgetary, you can expect a dividend. And there will be other systems. For instance, the blockchain is transparent, right? And so you can share the data about yourself. And if you do that, you can be seen as more trustworthy if you pay a lot of taxes. If you can pay a lot of voluntary taxes, you're probably not broke. So you probably can fulfill your other obligations, right? And therefore, it's an incentive for others to do business with you. And a disincentive if you don't share this. So such mechanisms we're going to implement. Again, you can ask me more, in order to have people pay those taxes without there being an ultimate threat of like, yeah, we're going to take something from you, or we're going to put you in jail or something. We don't build liber jails. So fast government citizen communication is a must, because the paperwork is gone. You can submit a request and you get everything online. You sign it, so you can expect that it will be trusted that it's from you, right? Because it's your account, your address, and the address is connected to your identity. We do still use KYC, like it's a public blockchain, but it's not completely trustless because it's a state. We have to fulfill certain requirements, and the world of states runs on yeah, this is a citizen and I know who he is from the cradle to the grave. So we have to be a part of that world. Therefore, we have this compromise that there is a central database for listing the citizens. We want to decentralize that too, by the way, but that's a bit more tricky because it also has to be 100% blockchain secured before we do that. So we are using standard secure solutions, which other states might use as well currently, and they are centralized. But the plus side is, again, that the state will know that your signature is you because your main address is associated under your name and your identity. And therefore, you can communicate officially with the state using the blockchain, and that's very fast. Justice system, same thing. We're going to build a justice system, or we're building a justice system rather, which will enable people to resolve their conflicts easily online due to this security of submission. And also the system is built to be cheap, in the sense, not low quality cheap, but like low flutter cheap, low bells and whistles cheap, because courts have a lot of those bells and whistles. It's like this traditional, almost temple-like system. We don't have that. What we want is professionals, and that's what you pay. You pay for a professional whom you choose, ideally with the other party, and then when there is a problem, you just click on dispute, submit the evidence, and the professional gives you his judgment. Simple and elegant. In this way we make traditional contracts into sort of a smart contracts, but without the need of programming anything. And most people still work with traditional contracts. And so if I have my roof repaired, I'm not going to enter a smart contract, not even in Liberland. I don't have to, but I can still click on dispute if the roof is repaired poorly. And then the judge will decide. He will take, I don't know, 50 euro for that, or whatever the tax is. This is probably a low cost operation, so I can risk that the judge will not be the best. I choose between levels, and the best judge will ask astronomical charges, but he's super efficient and super accurate, and the junior will be cheaper. So I would choose a junior, and my partner, the entrepreneur who got me those guys who repaired the roof also, and then it's done within a day, and we don't have to wait 30 days, 60 days, or forever, which is often the case in judiciaries. Of course, and I spoke about the constitution. The constitution is there for one main reason, and that's the separation of state and the economy. So everything's based on property rights, and we really take those seriously. And if we do, then we cannot really intervene with the economy too much. And that's the point. Like every small country, every microstate in existence, which is prosperous because it's a free trade zone. It's a place where free trade is allowed, where the rules are relaxed, where entrepreneurs can do enterprise, and people who want to work can work without obscuring government interference. And this is exactly what we are going to create. And therefore, the constitution is like a long list of "thou shalt not" government. Thou shalt not interfere in this, 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 and this. Are we a state? Well, it's difficult to say. One might say that a state is a state when it's recognized by all the other UN members, and in that sense, we wouldn't be. But that's a very short-sighted position, because that would turn the state's community into a sort of oligarchy. And that wasn't the intention of the framers of the UN treaties, and that's not how mainstream international law, theory, and practice sees it. We have the constitutive theory, that's what I just described, that is like, you're not recognized, you're not a state. But we have also the declaratory theory, which says that the recognition just declares, like it says, it's a fact that this is a state, and that's why we recognize it. And therefore, there has to be some kind of a facts of the ground, and those really matter. This is what most of the international bodies work with, what international lawyers work with, the declaratory theory. And we should use it here, because that's the mainstream. And what are the criteria? There was in 1929, I believe, a Montevideo Convention, which isn't signed by most states, but it kind of became a custom in meantime. So people use it as a source of law for determining what is a state. Okay, so let's use it. So what the criteria are, you have to have a territory, control over the territory, ability to govern, and ability to enter and fulfill international obligations. Now, the fourth we do have, because we have memoranda of understanding with many countries, not full recognition, but memoranda of understanding and some kind of treaties. So that we have. Territory, we have that. It's a physical state. Again, like just I said in the beginning, this is not a blockchain project, not a metaverse. Physical state between Serbia and Croatia on a patch which belongs to none of those countries and no other country. And therefore, we're not even separatists or trying to take somebody else's land. That land has been, since time immemorial, uninhabited, no natives, just animals and plants. So territory, yeah. Population, yes, we do have settlers there. Not many now because it's winter, but we do have them. It's a permanent settlement. There's always somebody in Liberland who is a Liberlander. And effective control, we're working on that. So, but those people are effectively living under the Liberland flag and the Liberland law, such as it is now. So I would say that we are quite a state, and we're not the only ones saying it. Croatia, who isn't all that keen on having us there, it's our neighbor, even them, they are calling us a para-state, and a para-state means that we have the attributes of state, but we don't have the recognition. And of course, they don't recognize it, so that's why they call us para-state. But it is a sort of recognition, even from somebody who is really opposing us, or who really doesn't want to see us there. And yes, this is the list of those memoranda and diplomatic endeavors of the Liberland. As you can see, it's not yet with the United States or Germany, but it is something. Those things were signed by, in case of Haiti, by the Prime Minister, in case of Malawi, by the Minister of Agriculture, and so on. Yeah, you can travel through Colombia, not to Colombia, at least not from outside, but through Colombia and from another South American country. If you go there, if you enter Mercosur, say in Ecuador, and then you go to Colombia, then you can do that. You can enter Colombia on a Liberland passport, and you can also use it to like book hotels or whatever there, so fulfill their laws. And we have a collaboration with Vojvodina. Now, as you can see, this is a house which is being built in Liberland. This is Liberland. This is Liberty Island. This is the third house which is ever built. It's we're starting small because, as I said, Croatians are not too keen on us, and they're trying to stop us, but it doesn't work. These people have built already 3 houses on the Liberty Island, which is a part of Liberland. It's a small island just off the coast of Liberland, which is usually not an island at all. It's a peninsula, but it can get flooded, or like the excess can get flooded. Now it's an island, and mostly it's 10 to 30 settlers. Now it's a little bit fewer because winter, and because of winter, anybody can join us now, and after 7 days spent there working for the country or for yourself, like building something for yourself, that's also possible, you can get citizenship. So this is a unique opportunity. This is the yacht house. The yacht house is a boat which we have about 600 meters from Liberland. It's in Croatia. They have placed no parking signs in Liberland. There's, again, the story of them not wanting us to be there. So we're parking her a bit further away so that we can always supply her. And then from there, it's very easy to take like some kind of a hand carriage bike or whatever and bring the supplies to Liberland. Right? She is a party boat originally, houseboat. So has all the social, like showers and toilets and everything, warming. And people can settle from her in style. We can rent a room there, or even timeshare her. So it's a commercial opportunity. As I told you, Liberland is a very free trade, positive state. So it goes ahead of everything, and it does offer some perks like this. We want the territory to be settled on the market basis. We want to have this market economy in the genes from the very start. And the next spring, we have ambitious plans of building a hotel which will look like this. So that's a big and luxurious hotel, I would say, with the reception and some spa facilities, and good rooms where people could not only sleep as tourists, but also hire rooms long term and then settle the Liberland from there, like a basis. And it's even an opportunity for investment. I mean, if you want to invest in something which will kind of add its own customers, because it will be in the middle of the freest country in the world, the greenest grass there, the easiest way to get land and to develop land in the entire territory. I mean, like I would say, like in the whole of Europe, then you can do that. And of course, it's also beautiful nature. Liberland is in the middle of beautiful nature. It's a genuinely good and genuinely forgotten touristic destination, and we want to put it on the map. Last but not least, we have the Ark village, which is the current base for settlement. It's 5 miles by flight, let's say, from Liberland, so it's a bit further by car. It's in Serbia. Serbia has a good legislation for expats, for business also. It's kind of alternative, but it's good. It's free. It's not so restrictive, let's say. And we are trying to build a mini Liberland there, and they allow that. So it's an expat village in the making. People can. There will be a hotel too, and you can buy property and develop it. We can get you cottages or small bungalows, but you can also put your own thing there, or so timeshare it maybe if you want to commute, you want to live there only part of the year. That's possible. This is the Floating Man Festival. Yeah, it's like Burning Man but floating. And we hope to make it in Liberland this year, because this year the settlement has opened. That settlement, that Liberland's 9 years old, more or less, but the settlement is just half year old, or even less, 4 months. So it's a new thing. The Floating Man Festival had been obviously going on before, but it was in Serbia, in the Ark village. Now it's going to be in Liberland. And we are bringing in investment. We have partners, and we want to build industry, not just in Liberland, but also in Serbia and in Croatia, thereby proving to everybody that we are a force for good, a force for development, something that the area seriously needs, because Liberland wants to be a friend with everyone, a good neighbor, and a peaceful partner. This is just a little slide about who we are. Most citizens are from Western countries, but there is like a sizable also like East European community. We have fewer citizens, but they are there from other parts of the world, like India, China, but they are there. Emirates, yes, that's more, but that's mostly like expats who live in Emirates, not Arabic people. So mostly it's a European affair now, and by Europe we also would mean Caucasus. We have citizens from there, but it is open to everyone who loves liberty and who's willing to do their part to build the freest country in the world. It is a selective community. In Liberland, we have 700,000 registered applications and about 800 citizens. We want it to be a community you want to be a part of. And if citizenship, which costs $10,000 right now, but you can work for it, if that's kind of far, then you can be an e-resident and you can start a company from Liberland. It's like economic residency. And you can do business as an individual or as a company, which has its own added value. And this is a QR code, which I will end with. And if you scan it, you will get to our pages and you can see how to become an e-resident or even a citizen, get some contacts. And if you want to have anything in common with us, this is the beginning. So I guess we should leave it for a minute up. And that concludes my presentation. If there is space for questions and answers, I'd be very happy to take them.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for this amazing presentation. I want to ask, what makes the Polkadot blockchain unique?
Or Polkadot blockchain, or Liberland blockchain, or Polkadot blockchain.
Polkadot blockchain.
We're not. So first off, I will answer your question. No worries. But first off, I'm not per se developing on the Polkadot. We just take their substrate and heavily modified it. Substrate is a blockchain kit, which the Polkadot, the Parity company which made Polkadot blockchain, which they created for others to make blockchains. They have a concept called parachain, and we're not that. So we're only loosely affiliated with the let's say the blockchain, but we are affiliated with the community. We love them. They're our great friends and partners. So what makes Polkadot unique? Polkadot has is trying to resolve the blockchain trilemma, which is that you cannot have a fast blockchain, secure blockchain, and cheap blockchain at the same time, by having a unique architecture. That architecture is that you have a relay chain in the middle, which is just a chain that validates blocks. And there's nothing going on there, just block validation. Validator, it's a proof of stake, right? So there are validators who say who can print into the blockchain. This is different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you don't have validators, but anybody can download a node and they can mine and they solve puzzles, and this uses electricity, which is a feature, not a bug. I mean, I like that, but Polkadot doesn't do that. Polkadot instead, you stake your dot, and then if you stake enough, you can and download a node, you will be selected by the system as a validator. So this is the relay chain there in the middle, and then the real action, the real economy is going on something called the parachains, and those are like added to the relay chain, and they have their own currencies, their own cryptos, but these cryptos are derived from the tokens on the relay chain. So they have their own validators, but the validators are using the main consensus of the relay chain. So so basically you validate a block on a parachain, and the block has to get validated again on the relay chain. And this allows them to not have gas fees at all. Actually, they don't have gas fees. They have something else. It's not gas as in Ethereum, and it's typically way cheaper. Also, the blockchain is super fast. Like on Bitcoin, I make a transaction and I'm waiting. And it's fine. I love Bitcoin. That's a good system. But Polkadot, you just make a transaction, done. Yeah. They have other things which we didn't adopt, which aren't that great, and that would be their tokenomics, but they recognize it themselves. Oh, but the things why we adopted them, that's very simple. They have this substrate thing, which is unique, which has inbuilt governance, so that we could take a system of governance, which is proven by years of working in a a blockchain environment. By years, I mean about 5, but that's ancient in the modern dynamic blockchain world, and we adopted it and we modified it. So it's a toolkit which is ready-made. We don't have to be speculating making our own system from scratch, and it's also a blockchain, like the node is already pre-built, and so we don't have to speculate also about that and guess what's secure and what's the best practices, because there is a multi-million company and then community which already has been running it without issues for many years. And this is why we've chosen them. And last but not least, we're very good friends with them. So we are going to have a cooperation with them soon, next year. In January it starts. So they have a lovely community, very business oriented, it's kind of feels like more traditional business, but run by young people. So it's like less cyberpunk or cypherpunk rather. If you go to a community like Monero or even Bitcoin, there it's more about the blockchain and the freedom. In Polkadot's really like straight down to business. Let's build something awesome. It's like a Silicon Valley vibe. Oh, we like that. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, it was fully answered.
So you wanted to ask who the citizens are? Was this your question?
About your citizens, where are they coming from, and
okay.
What's their general?
So the largest source of those citizens is America. Second largest would be, I think, Czechia, because that's where Liberland started, and then other European countries. Who are they? They're usually youngish people, but they're also 50, 60 plusers. That's like it's all over the board, and they love freedom and they want to make the freest country in the world happen. The older people want to build, it's a typical motivation. They want to build a country where their children can grow up free, or grandchildren even, and where they will not be subjected to what they would call it like government indoctrination, like usually libertarian, right? So what they want is that the children learn at school, let's say, or homeschool, something useful, something good for living. They learn, say, how to be a good entrepreneur, how to treat your bodies like with a balanced diet, finance skills. And schools in those places where they come from, and I can speak from experience for Czechia, don't really teach that. And they are very worried about that. And also those schools are long, boring affairs, and it's more like a prison, really. So this is one big motivation is this. Another is just that you want to live, you're a crypto person and crypto world, and you want to live that to the fullest. And of course, in Liberland, you'll be able to buy everything on our tokens and Bitcoin. Also, that's our reserve currency. We adopted Bitcoin as the first country, actually, even before El Salvador. So that's attractive. Also, yeah, nobody likes paying taxes. And here it's voluntary, so you don't pay them if you don't think the government is doing something for you. That's also attractive. Other people are idealists and want to see the country on a blockchain with the direct democracy, with the corporate governance element. So those are the kinds of people we have. They're usually very intelligent, accomplished, successful, or young and want to be that. It's like those two types of people. Or they are older, experienced, and are disillusioned with entrusting their posterity and heritage to their countries for whatever reason. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, fully. Well, one more question from the participants.
Thank you for the interesting presentation, and I'm interested how blockchain has been incorporated into the voting or decision-making process within the nation.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, the blockchain is currently being launched. It will be officially launched. Now it's already running, but it's unofficially launched because we wanted to have a test run. Wanted to make sure everything works perfectly before the politics start. And then the first subsystem to run will be the politics. That's why I described it in such length. The democracy. So the core legislative power, which is in the hands of the citizens, will be launched first. And that will be the direct democracy referendum, through which every law has to pass, and the Congress, which has the power to remove malicious referenda, and which has the power to propose referenda that do not have that anti-populist measure which I mentioned. So remember the 80% of quorum and the 20. Yeah. So if the Congress proposes a referendum, the Congress is the parliament. It will start with 7 people because it's a small country, right? So if the Congress proposes a referendum, that's its chief power, by the way. Congress cannot accept laws. Congress can propose laws, but if it proposes the referendum, it is 50%. Regardless of how many people vote. So theoretically, if just one person votes and says yay for a Congress referendum, that passes. For a popular referendum, absolutely not. And this is known beforehand, so people will likely vote more often for the Congress referendum. And why are we doing this? Is because Congress is voted in by the people using the same system as a referendum, and it's every 3 months. So you can get rid of a Congress. You can get rid of your congressperson every 3 months. And therefore, we have a presumption that those people are democratically elected. So there's already a round of democracy there. It's not like that somebody presents a fringe proposal from a populist standpoint or whatever, or just wants to get a chunk of money out of it. No, these are representatives of the people vetted by the people who are proposing something, and therefore we allow them to do it faster. So this is what is going to run first, and then registries. Registries for companies, registries for land and ships and other things. We already have ships and companies. We already have companies and land, of course. So you'll be able to own parcel and have a record of your ownership on the blockchain, which is interesting because that's an immutable ledger which says that you own something. What can be better? Does this answer your question?
Yes, thanks very much.
Michal, one more question from the participant.
I have one question for you. How do you communicate and promote Liberland's values and principles to the world and attract more supporters and residents?
We're using many channels. We have our own website called Liberland Press. We have our own news site on our liberland.org page. We have Twitter, Signal, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, whole 9 yards, Telegram, of course. We are using all the traditional and non-traditional media because we are living on promo, and that's not a bad thing. We are, again, trying to be a free market country, and therefore we're using those principles. And if you don't market yourselves, you're not real on the market. You're not going to succeed. So we are marketing ourselves, and we are communicating with all those tools. For example, if you register with this QR code, you can get mass mails, from which you can unsubscribe at any time, so of course. But you'll get mass mails, and then every 2 weeks or even less, you will get updates for you personally based on where you are. We have a rather big community in 80 countries of people who all want to make it happen. 80 representatives, and they're building their own little expat communities there. So you will get a communication tool on that. And so, for example, if some government members come to Georgia, you will see it. You will be warned, and you can make time to meet them, and so on and so forth. So this is how we communicate.
One question from me. Please describe to students the opinion about the CBDCs and what are their advantages and disadvantages, the state perspective, from the citizens' perspective.
CBDCs, like
Yeah.
central-based digital currencies?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a central bank, right? So, okay, I will have to say, I will have to describe it theoretically with respect to countries which have central bank and therefore want to create central bank digital currency. So CBDC means central bank digital currency. And that's not going to happen in Liberland because there isn't going to be a central bank. Why? Because the constitution doesn't allow it, and we have no desire to run it. We are running a public blockchain. But CBDCs that's how, if you remember my presentation, I said that governments tend to run private blockchains. And CBDCs would be cryptos, let's say, which run on a private blockchain. And a private blockchain is a blockchain which is made by a known corporate entity, which would be like IBM makes one. I don't know if Google will ever make one, but that would be a thing. Facebook tried to make one. It's stalled. But others do make and offer ones. And for example, in South Korea, it's very popular. Even like normal crypto bros, crypto people work on those private blockchains there. There is not a swear word. In the rest of the crypto community, it is. So governments, of course, want to use those private blockchains to obtain all the benefits of crypto, of electronic currency, which is native to a blockchain ledger. And that means that it's super fast, that it's super transparent and secure. Of course, private blockchains are less transparent and secure because the number of people and the selection of the people isn't so random. So they could collude, the validators, I mean, usually it's going to be proof of stake because of ecological reasons, which don't make sense according to how I understand it, but definitely is going to be proofs of stake or something like that, or even proof of authority, which just means the central bank nominates you, you'll be a validator. It's proof of authority. So that's of course not very secure because there is a pre-selection of the validators, of the people who write, and they will know each other. So if they know each other, then the game theory just doesn't work as well. So it's not all the benefits of the blockchain, it's most of the benefits of the blockchain, especially that it's a cheap, fast, and kind of automatic process that you can make payments. And so what they will do is they will create stable coins based on their currency. So for example, digital euro, digital USD or something like that. And that would be an improvement over the current system. I mean, it would, because currently there is lots of expenses on running what's called SWIFT. It requires a lot of support from IT, from the banking sector, which it will just not be. And it will also enable them to check you on many ways, in many ways, using native system tools. So it is predictable that they will create anti-money laundering systems, which will be embedded as something called oracles into the blockchain. Now, Oracle is a system which is outside of the blockchain system, and the blockchain asks it, and the oracle gives a question. And the oracle has its own system. It's not a blockchain, but it's like inbuilt that like there is a step on the blockchain process. Blockchains are very simple. It's like do this, then this, then this, then this. And so in one of those, it will ask the oracle, and the oracle gets back the question: yeah, is this a good guy or not good guy? Is there some money laundering? And then if there is, the transaction will be held, for example. But you can do even more with it. And some people are afraid of this, and maybe justifiably so if you don't trust your government. Because what if there are certain ideas or ideologies which the government really doesn't like? And let's say I spoke about the ecology, so let's use that. Let's say that they don't like people who say that global warming is not such a big emergency. So if you are in public saying that global warming is not such a big emergency, you might find yourself limited in certain purchases. So for example, you will not be able to fly because flying has a carbon footprint, right? So you get punished by the system that enables us to transact as a sort of extrajudicial punishment for your ideas. And this is what people don't like on this. And it's dubious how to make amends for this. And even if you in a free state, you should be allowed to be forced rather to make amends for your ideas in your head. You're not acting on it really, you're just saying it. So do we have free speech or not? And that's the risk which people see CBDC. So you have this benefit of it being more transparent, faster, secure, and cheaper, way cheaper for everybody. And then the risk of it, and then like the benefit also of like getting the thieves and the bad guys and the terrorists in the system with the oracle. But then you could also build the oracle for something else than money laundering. Or make it so that like money laundering is expanded to include other types of bad guys, meaning people who some government agencies find problematic. And that doesn't have to be really transparent. So you might find yourself on the blacklist without knowing why. Yeah. And that's why people are critical of it. And also because the technology is inferior to public blockchain. So it's not really going to be that secure. Did this answer your question?
Fully. Thank you very much.
How do you measure the success and impacts of Liberland's development and expansion efforts?
Well, one measure is that we are getting more and more people and interest. But I think the two main measures are as follows. We are kind of part of the crypto community. To be alive after 9 years in the crypto community is a thing that means something, especially in a crypto community which has to do with making new countries. There is now a movement called free private cities or free cities, another movement called network states. We are older, way older, like twice as old as both those movements, 3 times than network states. So we are older than all the other network states or free cities. We are still there. We're still on the mission. We're still doing what we have always been doing. And more importantly, and most importantly, after 8 years of effort, when we had no access on the land, but we still survived, we have now access on the land. And we have a settlement, a small one, contested one, but we have it there. And that's a measure of success, better than any other, I would say. That's my answer.
Thanks. Once again, thank you for your presentation and showing the audience how the country is developing. From my perspective, it's really interesting case how the group of enthusiasts is building the country with state-of-art technologies and very democratic principles. So thank you again for the participation, and let's meet in next year and share your development.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here, and have a good conference.
Thanks. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.